What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dissect That Film, where we dissect your favorite films, film franchises, and TV. Today, on a new episode of Fresh Cuts, we are talking about the film everybody is talking about, the new, the improved, I guess, The Batman. Vengeance.
Batman, yes.
The Vengeance.
Yes.
The Vengeance. Can we just note how many times they just call him Vengeance?
4 times, I think, in the whole
and it was
movie.
all Catwoman, right? That calls him that? Or
he says it once, and then she says it the most, and then the one guy at the very end.
Right. Well, I am your host, Brett Parker. Joining me, as always, is Dan and Angela from DNA Gaming. Welcome. I literally, not even 30 minutes ago, stepped out of the theater, just saw this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I'm late to the party. They saw it like a couple days after it came out. I had to wait a few more days, but I finally saw the movie, so we're sitting down and talking about it.
Yeah, good thing we're sitting down, because I guarantee right now Parker's rocking like a hard 12.
All I
That
know is
movie.
Oh, yeah. You just want to start? It's fucking awesome. This movie rocks.
Yeah, let Parker go first. Yes,
This
go.
movie fucking rocks. All right. Some people might go into this movie going, there's a lot, like, this doesn't feel like Batman. No, this feels more like Batman than anything we have ever gotten ever. Except for comics, of course. Where Batman is a fucking detective in this movie. He's doing detective work. He's side by side with Commissioner, whatever he is in this movie, Sergeant Gordon, Lieutenant Gordon, whatever his rank is. He's side by side with him. And the thing is, we don't get that much Bruce Wayne compared to Batman. He is Batman so much in this movie, and I loved every fucking minute of it.
I love emo Wayne.
I'll admit it, I was one of those people that when Robert Pattinson was announced to be the next Batman, I didn't immediately go, oh, fuck, this is going to be bad. But I was like, ooh, all right.
That's an interesting choice. This
is a choice I wasn't expecting, but I went in. I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I know he has done so many things after, the movies that really put a damper on his career, which is the Twilight Saga. And he's done a lot of good movies since then. I think Robert Pattinson is a fantastic actor, and he has really just cemented his stature into just being a fantastic actor and a fantastic Batman.
Yeah, I definitely was one of those. It's like, oh, what is he gonna sparkle? That was my first comment when he was
sparkly Batman. No.
Yes, I'm like, damn.
That's always the joke, right?
That's what I said. I wanted Batman to sparkle.
The Gotham felt grungy and dark. This movie is dark.
Yes.
Dark all the time. Even when it's daytime, it is dark as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it because that's how Gotham is in the comic books. Like, Gotham is it's just filth. It's sludge. It's just corrupt people. It's New York City times 1,000. It's
always rainy or dark or overcast.
Well, even when it's sunny outside, and he's like, I'm like, where's the sun? It's still dark.
Yeah. The cinematography is fantastic. Everybody in this movie just knocks it out of the park. I loved that the conversations between Gordon and Batman, they were kind of like a Law and Order episode where they're going back and forth with their theories and the things that are going on. It kind of seems like they're going, like, especially Gordon, he's going a little bit extra when he's like in those conversations. It kind of, but that's just the way Commissioner Gordon is, or Gordon. He's not commissioner in this movie.
I know.
Stating the fact he's not commissioner in this movie. I got to pull up IMDb real quick just so I can get all the actors' names. But
just a reminder for anybody
sorry.
I was going to say, just a reminder for everybody that this is very early on in Batman's career.
Yes. This
So
movie
just so
takes
everybody
place
knows.
2 years into Batman's career. So it's he's very new to the whole thing. I love how vulnerable Batman is.
Yes.
He doesn't put on the suit and then immediately, he kicks a lot of ass in this movie.
Yeah,
but he also gets his ass kicked a lot in this movie.
Yeah. Like, I was telling Angela and I were talking about it. In like one of the first fight scenes in the movie, like he just goes in and starts like fucking boxing some dudes, like taking them out. But like during the whole fight, like he's taking hits to the back and shit like that.
Yeah.
And guys are getting on him. Like he's not a flawless fighter. He's not a flawless detective either.
No. All right.
He doesn't put on his suit and immediately become bulletproof.
Well, he does, but
I mean, he is pretty bulletproof in the movie, but he's not taking those bullets and just moving on full strength.
Yeah, he's still taking them, and it shows. Yeah.
Yeah, another character could take a note from this. Leatherface, from getting hit with a fucking double barrel shotgun at point blank, would kind of take it out of you.
Poor Leatherface.
Fucking. Yeah.
If you haven't checked out our our Texas Chainsaw fresh cut, you should do that.
Please. If this is your first episode, check that one and watch Jurassic Park 3. Because I gotta get one in every episode.
Always gotta shout out Jurassic Park 3 in every episode. All right, well, I want to go into greater detail farther into the episode, so I want you two to tell me what you guys thought of the movie. Let's not try to spoil anything crazy, kind of just, the usual with fresh cuts. Go ahead. I don't care who goes first.
Out of all the Batman movies that I've seen, because I've seen almost all of them that have been made, except for Batman vs. Superman. I love the fights. I love the characters. The acting was phenomenal. Riddler's actor, awesome. The costuming, love that. I do have the music in it was amazing.
Oh yeah.
And this is probably my favorite Batman costume.
Oh, dude,
this suit
with
is
the cowl,
so good.
Like how his cloak kind of comes up.
Yeah,
it comes up around his neck.
So
and I
good.
only had a few dislikes. So,
okay,
but I'll get into that later.
All right.
It's great. I when I went in to see this movie, it should be stated that I had not very low, but I had lower expectations for this movie. Not because it was Robert Pattinson, because it was another Batman movie. The last Batman stuff I had heard wasn't that great. I never watched it. Most DCEU films just don't do it for me. So I didn't, and I'm not a big fan of long movies. I've bitched about them a lot before. I'm just not a big fan of longer movies because, like, the thing is, the movie's got to be great if it's going to be long. Mm-hmm. If it's a long movie and it's mediocre, you're stuck in a 3-hour mediocre movie. That is my concern. Like, I'm very conscientious of my time, right? I enjoy to use my time the way I want to use it. However, like I said, I went to this movie, thought it was fantastic. I'm going to watch it again when it comes out, and we'll determine my verdict. But this is probably going to end up being my favorite Batman movie outside of live-action Batman movie, because I still love Mask of the Phantasm. The pacing was great for even being so long. The dialogue felt fantastic and natural. Robert Pattinson may be one of my favorite Batmans just because of how he acts as Batman. When people talk to, or even when he's not Batman, people talk to him and he doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't carry on long-winded conversations. He speaks when he needs to speak. He's very, like, observant of situations. He's more concerned about what's going on around him than engaging in, like, dialogue with people. Outside of some scenes where he is really, like, very rarely is he, like, really into a conversation with somebody.
Right.
Zoey Kravitz was great as Catwoman. I like how they did her in this. Colin Farrell's Fangin was fucking awesome.
God,
it was so good.
He's so good.
I don't know.
You mentioned that the last time, and I'm like, that was Colin Farrell?
Yeah.
Like, I hadn't looked to see. I didn't look to see who all was playing who as far as like secondary to
Right.
Batman and Catwoman.
I want to get into this more later, but I don't know who the fuck was the Riddler in this movie. I have no clue who that guy is.
Oh,
But he did a fantastic job as said character.
See, I didn't even look that up.
Paul Dano is the one who plays the Riddler. Well, he plays Edward Nasham, as he's named in this movie, because which I liked that he wasn't Edward Nygma, because it's a silly name for a very realistic Batman film.
As far as because I'm not always the biggest fan of like making things grounded, but I love how they handled this. Even though he was a little bit different, I like how the Riddler was handled in this movie. I like how all the characters were handled. The fight scenes were great. They weren't oversaturated. The fight scenes were the choreography for the fight scenes were great. They were brutal too. Lots of cool practical effects. I learned one scene was practical. We'll talk about it later, and I was like, no fucking way. But I will talk about that later.
One of the coolest Batmobiles.
Batmobiles, dude. I love
so good.
The best.
Love the Batmobile.
The best.
So good.
It's. I know we're gonna overhype. At least I'm gonna overhype the fuck out of this movie. But it's the detective part is my favorite. He felt okay. I don't know when this is coming up, and we haven't covered it yet. But I have watched. Where we have watched Batman Forever.
So that'll be out. That'll be out after this.
Okay, so we're not gonna talk about that specifically, but the two entirely jarring films here, right? But it's just this felt like how the Riddler would act in this, like lots of use of how I feel the character would be in some of these situations. And even when he's Bruce Wayne, it's an interesting interpretation of Bruce Wayne, but I like it a lot. Just everything that's been said already. It's a fantastic fucking movie, and you should see it. As long as you have an interest, you should see it because it's a longer movie. But I never felt at any point I was never like, God, is this movie almost over? Is this really 3 hours?
Oh, no.
I was just
I wanted
in the
more
fucking movie.
I wanted
absolutely.
more. When it ended, I was like,
keep going,
more, please. Give it to me.
The ending, though.
The ending was great. Gordon did a great job. I love there's a lot going on in this movie.
Jeffrey Wright does a fantastic job as Gordon.
I like him as Gordon. Probably one of the best ones.
He's really good. He's really good. Gordon.
It's between him and Gary Oldman from the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
like Gary Oldman he is definitely top.
Yeah.
For me.
So to go through the information on this movie, this was directed by Matt Reeves and written by Matt Reeves.
What did he do before this?
He was the director of Dawn and War of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
which starred
okay, yeah.
Andy
I feel
Serkis
that now.
As Caesar. Andy Serkis, of course, plays Alfred in this movie. Great
job.
Yeah, fantastic Alfred. Just
everybody pretty much does a great job.
That's the thing is, I love how Alfred gets younger through the Batman movies. First we got, I mean, I don't remember who was in the 60s, but we got Michael Goff or Go or however you pronounce his last name. Goff. I think that's how Justin pronounced it when we recorded the Returns episode. But he
can't beat him.
So Michael Goff, of course, fantastic as Alfred. Then we had Michael Caine as Alfred, which was fantastic. Every Alfred, to be honest, has been great. You had Jeremy Irons was Alfred during the Justice League Batman v Superman time, which, to be honest, even in his short period as Alfred in there, like every Alfred has just been so good, but it seems like Alfred just gets younger and younger, which is, I'm okay with it. I love Andy Serkis. He's a fantastic actor. Of course, he is the man behind Gollum from Lord of the Rings. He's the man behind, he was King Kong in the 2005 King Kong. He's Caesar in all the Planet of the Apes movies, the newer Planet of the Apes movies. And he was in Black Panther, and he's just so good.
You name all these characters, but you forget his character name. What is that? I'm just fucking with you. He's Ulysses. Yeah, Ulysses. I know, but you're just like, oh, he's the guy from Black Panther. Like, don't do that. And he was in Age of Ultron.
Right.
That was his first.
That's the same character. Yeah.
It is. I'm just giving you shit because I can't.
So this movie was released March 4th, 2022. So very new. It came in at 176 minutes. This movie was an hour and 56 minutes long.
I want to point this out.
2 hours and 56 minutes.
No,
It's
you're
almost
good.
3 hours long.
It might as well be, really.
Yeah.
I just want to point this out because I feel this is important to the show and to our audience. We watched it first before Parker. So
Yes.
if you're wondering why it's late, it's this motherfucker. I'm just reminding everybody.
That's why. Oh, the budget was. Listen, we just got our first like negative comment on our channel, so I'm just trying to process it. All right, we're not going to go too in depth about it, but yeah, this budgeted around 185 to 200 million dollars. Currently is sitting at 318.2 million as of today.
Why I know his voice.
Whose voice?
Oh, he's in Marvel stuff too.
Who?
Why is everybody in Marvel and DC
Jeffrey
stuff?
Wright is the Watcher from the
the Watcher from What If? Yeah.
Well, we didn't know.
I didn't know that. Now I'm looking up his stuff.
Bitch.
He was in Westworld. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Dude, he's in Green Eggs and Ham.
Oh my god, I knew I recognized him.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a kid's book, but I fucking love reading that to my kids. Carry on.
John Turturro's in this movie. Fucking awesome.
As Falcone.
As Carmine Falcone. Or Falcone, sorry. Peter Sarsgaard is in this movie. I don't know who you know that is. He was he was the DA. The one. Spoilers, everybody. We're gonna jump into spoilers. We really are just gonna jump right into this. Yeah. So buckle up because we are talking about spoilers.
There's like 800 Skarsgards. They're like
this is Sarsgaard, not Skarsgård.
Oh, okay.
You gotta get it right.
Okay, I apologize.
You guys, I don't know what's up with your camera, but your camera keeps zooming in on you. So now like you're cut off and stuff. I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. It's not moved here, so I don't know. User error.
I haven't touched it, so
I'm just kidding.
Technical difficulties on my part. That's okay. Your side's gonna be way bigger than mine, and that is okay. So Peter Sarsgaard, who plays the DA, who is one of Riddler's victims, he is married to Maggie Gyllenhaal, who played she was in The Dark Knight. She was what the hell's her name?
I know you're talking about. I can't remember.
Rachel. Rachel. She played Rachel in The Dark Knight. So it's cool that they both got to be in a Batman movie. I didn't know he was in this movie, but when that scene happened, I was like, I recognize that guy because I just watched a show with him called Dope Sick on Hulu.
Oh yeah, you've been talking about Dope Sick, yeah.
So he is a big part of that.
Episodes of that.
He's really good in that show. And of course, I think, to be honest, as much I love Batman, I love Robert Pattinson. I think he did a fantastic job. Paul Dano did a fantastic job as the Riddler, but fucking Colin Farrell is the Penguin. Oh my god, he's just so good. You cannot. There is no way. There's no way you can even remotely know that is Colin Farrell at all. Hit by his voice, his mannerisms, everything. He's just so good. This just shows how good, how amazing of an actor this man is. He's fucking amazing.
Dan was reading stuff. I guess Robert Pattinson didn't even know it was Colin Farrell either.
On set, the first time he saw it, he had no idea.
They ran into each other, and it was kind of just like a "oh shit, sorry" type deal. And he later on was like, "Oh shit, that's Colin Farrell. Damn."
Side by side of him and his penguin.
Dude, he is fantastic fucking penguin.
Oh,
fantastic.
So good.
He's not even in the movie that much.
No, because he's not a big player in the game as much because Falcone is the main guy and his name is Oz. So the GCPD and Batman, they call him Penguin, but his name, he introduces himself, he's just Oz. And that's how everyone calls him. No one calls, they not once say Oswald Cobblepot, he's Oz. He introduces himself as that, and that's what people call him.
I'm sure eventually he will be referred to that, because I'm sure he'll show him more.
So, sorry, don't mean to interrupt you, but they are doing HBO Max is doing a show based around the Penguin from this movie.
About this.
Yes, I heard about that.
So we're probably going to be getting some deep dives into this character, and to see this character in a full-length show, it just kind of focusing on his evil doings, I think is going to be great. I mean, look at what fucking Peacemaker did after Suicide Squad. Peacemaker's like one of the most popular shows out there right now. People are loving on that show.
Still gotta watch it.
Yeah, I haven't even watched it, but I've heard great things about it, and he's one of the side characters from a big ensemble.
Yep. Hold on, I'm telling something to Angela, but look at him. Did you remember him from the Eternals?
Yeah.
That kid?
Yeah.
We don't have to add this. I was telling Angela something.
No, we're going to talk about that. I know what scene you're talking about. Yeah.
With Barry Koenig.
Yeah, we'll talk about that scene when we get to that point.
She didn't know that. Somebody told me this. I was like, no fucking way. It's like, okay.
I had a feeling of who it was when they were talking.
Anyway, carry on. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt the flow of the podcast.
So, to continue on everything, Michael Giacchino fucking did the music for this movie, and it's one of the best Batman scores ever.
It's so
that
good.
theme is just fucking amazing, and the way that they use "Something in the Way" by Nirvana, fucking dude, it gave me goosebumps. It's one of my favorite Nirvana songs, and the way that they incorporate it into it's just because it's such a dark song.
It is.
Just because, if you ever look into when Kurt Cobain wrote that song, of course he was in a very dark place most of his life, and that's pretty much what came out of it. So to incorporate it into this dark and grungy movie, which is what it is, there is no light. There's just no light. When we talked about that in the beginning, when the sun is out, it's still dark. You just never feel safe. You never feel like I'm out of the woods.
The closest you get is the very, very end of the movie.
Yeah.
The very, very end.
Which is a great shot, which you see it in the trailer, but it still feels so impactful when you see it again in the movie. I love that there's no origin story behind Batman.
You hear about
Batman.
it.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, we're throwing it here and there. I like that they changed up the Wayne's murder, and kind of they tweaked it a little bit. It's not, and like, the father was running for mayor, and the mother there was hidden files of her being crazy because her fucking parents, like, it was a murder suicide with her parents. And
because they're the Arkhams.
Yeah, it's insane just to hear you always heard about, Arkham Asylum, or in like movies like this, it's Arkham State Hospital. This and Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix movie, it was Arkham State Hospital. It wasn't Arkham Asylum. Yeah. Just because you can't, like, in 2020, in the 21st century, asylum is kind of not a word commonly used.
Nobody wants to be associated with asylum pictures anyway.
Hey, Jimmy's over in the asylum right now. No, it's he's at the hospital. But yeah, I just love the new interpretation of the Riddler. This Riddler is fucking insane. He's a mix between the Zodiac killer and the Kevin Spacey character from Seven. He's just kind of molded into both. The costume very reminiscent of the way that, if you've ever looked at composite drawings of what the Zodiac supposedly looked like, he wore a very similar outfit. The shots of him performing his deeds. Just that first one where he just undoes the tape before he's going to do what he's going to do. And you're like, just so good.
Yes. It's very like, I can't come up with the word. Premeditated. Like, he's like, this is what I'm going to do. And like, it just flows with how he is as a character. Like, it's all a show, basically. And it's all,
like, and then but like you said, he actually feels like a proper serial killer. Like he, especially with this, like, I know people talk about this, but he's literally like, you get late, especially late in the movie, really feel the vibe of it. Very, very end he's literally like, he's like a dude from like YouTube or 4chan. Like, he's got like his own little followers and buddies and stuff that watch his videos and stuff. And
his little group that he's got.
like, it's like really wild. And I was like, oh, it's very like obviously relevant to, stuff that people do today. Like, even us doing a podcast or us that stream,
Right.
It's wild.
I still enjoy his riddles
Okay,
Yes.
that aren't really riddles, but you know,
but the fact that he uses riddles so much more in this,
yeah.
like it's actually like a intrinsic part of his character. When I feel like
'Cause
other
even
people
from-
who have played this role, it's not quite as important.
but
Listen,
even-
you can just talk about it, okay? That movie is fucking 27 years old. Jim Carrey's Riddler is Jim Carrey dressed as the Riddler. That was what he was. This
I
is a
said it-
more comic accurate version of the Riddler.
Yes.
Yeah,
he
except-
is a more serious.
I like his Saw elements too, where he does like a couple of the traps in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I know we're doing spoilers, like at this point, but I want to say one of my favorite parts of this movie is his the very, very end when he figures, I think he figures out the code. Remember, after he gives the little for the carpet where he says my confession, he figures out later and he says he types in that one thing under the carpet. And he plays the video, and it's just him, like, not even really, like, doing his whole character spiel, just talking to his guys, like, hey,
It's
guys.
Thanks, everybody. I
Thanks,
appreciate
everybody.
all the help and all
Dude,
that.
it's so grounded. Like, he's not always in this, like, epic character thing, like, when he's on front of the camera.
Yeah.
Like, he has this, like, of course, he's a very disturbed individual, but he has this, like, where he actually cares about the people that follow him and watch his stuff.
Did you read the
Like, he's not
comments
just
on the side?
Some of them, yeah.
Like
yeah.
one of them was like, you can get the mask and the jacket from a military supply store or something like that.
Like,
Was,
oh yeah,
like,
what caliber rifles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What caliber, and they said rifles weren't good or whatever. Yeah. I was reading some of it where in there, I was like, dude, it's just
really into
But
but there are
there's people like that,
there's people
unfortunately.
like that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
It's wild, dude. It's fucking wild.
Let's talk Selena Kyle in this movie. Of course, she has been played by many different people throughout the years when it comes to the Batman series. Yeah, go.
She's a woman and I don't like her.
Oh
Carry on.
God.
I am just fucking kidding. Just chill out.
I have one thing that I hate about her whole suit.
Yes.
I hate her hat.
It's so dumb.
Okay,
It's like
I'm
she
gonna
took
defend it.
It's like she took a ski mask, cut a hole in it. There you go.
So of course it's supposed to represent. It's supposed to look like a cat's head because even like the little. She even still has the ears, even though I don't think it's on purpose. It's just the way that she puts the hat on it. It puts off these little. So to me, she's not typical Selena Kyle / Catwoman that we see in the comics in a lot of the movies. She's more of just doing like she's more of a thief in the way of she's trying to help people. Like she was trying to help her friend. And you know, she's just trying to steal money to give herself a better life.
Robin Hood-esque.
Yeah,
exactly. I really like the way what Zoey Kravitz did with the character. The emotion
I
she
loved
has.
her as a character. I just hated that hat.
Well,
the outfit was good. It was very homemade.
It didn't match her suit. Like her suit looked so good.
Yeah, her suit looked intentional to be what it was.
Right.
Like but the hat is just like
like
just
it
on the shelf.
squished her up. And then when she had it on, it changed her voice because her nose was squished.
I understand.
It made her sound really nasally.
Like we said earlier, it's early in all of these people's careers. Like Penguin isn't the big, mob boss dude that he is.
But
Riddler's just starting out, but
look at what how much do you think she has stolen and at this time? Because she's good at what she does. You can see her when she breaks in the house.
She's not Batman good though.
But she's good at what she does.
She is, and I think she's still crafting her trade because she's still like you know what I mean. She's polishing her trade. Like she's still got to get it down, like all the characters are.
But it's not like she is incapable of making herself blend in, because that's what she's trying to do. Is she's trying to be able to hide. That's why she dresses in black.
Yeah, she does wear a lot of costumes, different costumes in this movie. Like just various wigs and stuff in her different portrayals, which is cool. I like that.
They all definitely look great on her.
Zoey Kravitz is
She's very pretty,
Yes, she is.
but it's the whole that it just throws it off because it just looks so out of place, almost like an afterthought.
I will say, hat aside, she's a great character.
Yeah.
I like her
That's a-
Catwoman. Actually, I'd read that the way she did her nails, where she did like the sharp nails and stuff,
yeah.
Pointy.
and intentionally didn't paint them to make them look like natural, like claws.
Mhm.
I'd read
It's
that,
really-
which is
really-
cool. It's a nice touch.
Really cool design. I like the relationship between her and Batman. I like how Batman is slowly falling for her. You can definitely tell, like he's hoping she sticks around, but of course she needs to go escape this life and escape Gotham, because Gotham, of course, it's so dark. She says, Gotham's going to kill you eventually, and he doesn't say anything because I feel he knows it's the truth. He's gonna die in Gotham as Batman at some point in his life. It could be, a year from now, it could be 20 years from now. It's just how it's just, she can see what's going to happen.
When we start talking about Pattinson, but I do want to mention this. You said something that just hit me. You said she says it's going to kill him and he doesn't say anything. There's a lot of instances where Batman is told something and he never says anything, but you could totally get what he's like what
he's thinking, or
what he's thinking. There's because he's so physically acts really well, and like we talked about earlier, where he doesn't say a lot. I'm specifically talking about the interrogation scene at the end with the Riddler.
Yeah,
that scene specifically, I'm like, where he keeps saying Bruce Wayne.
Yep.
And you're like, and Pattinson doesn't say anything that whole time, and I'm just like,
is he saying it because he knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman? Is he trying to get that reaction from Batman?
Yeah,
that he
he's fishing him out.
Yeah.
No, God, this movie's good.
Yeah, it's, oh my God. Pattinson knocks it. He really does a fantastic job as Bruce Wayne / Batman. Of course, this is a very quiet. He's not the playboy, Bruce Wayne. He is a very, he doesn't go out much. He runs into the woman who's running for mayor, and she's like, I've been trying to call you. I've been trying to do this and that. He's like, and he doesn't say anything to her. He kind of tries to get her to go away.
That's what I like, that he doesn't. People will say stuff to him, and he just, even as Bruce Wayne and Batman, people will say things to him, and he just doesn't reply.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that he doesn't need to say anything to emote, express. It's great acting. He doesn't need to say anything to express himself. And speaking of which, I remember that one line where I think it was during the funeral scene of the mayor, where Falcone's like, oh, Mr. Wayne, someone that's even more scarce than myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's never in the public eye.
Yep. The twists that we get in this movie are, they're something that we have seen in Batman media, probably not in movies, but Batman, the Telltale game, had a very similar twist as this movie, where you find out that the Waynes weren't, especially Thomas, wasn't the greatest. He of course has Falcone kill someone who was going to try to bury his wife, and
inadvertently.
Right. He didn't really tell him to kill the person. It was more of just I need you to get this guy off my back because he's going to bury he's trying to expose, my wife's past, which, does it put him in that bad, is he a bad guy? Was Thomas a bad guy? I don't know. It's kind of
because Thomas knew he was asking. He knew exactly who he was asking to take care of. And keep going.
But then you find out that Falcone's the reason Thomas and Martha die. He's the one who plans the hit on him, which is definitely a different twist than what we usually get with the Batman origin, where it was just some guy seeking money or drugs or whatever it was, and he kills him. But the emotion that Pattinson has as Bruce Wayne, when he confronts Falcone as Bruce Wayne at the Iceberg Club, or what was it the 40 Below
It's the Iceberg Lounge, and then there's
Iceberg
the 40
Lounge was
below.
the 40 Below Club,
Yeah,
which was the one that was like for like the private, it's the private ones where all the politicians
off the record one.
Yeah, exactly.
Where everybody's doing drugs.
Drops.
Yep.
Yes,
Doing
that was
drops.
the drug of choice in this movie.
I love all the political intrigue in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Riddler, like all his stuff he's doing, trying to expose these corrupt politicians that will literally bring down the entire city because like all the cops and DA and all that shit are in. Almost all the cops, GA are all in on this shit. And then you have like the Falcone political stuff where he's like pulling all the strings, literally of everything. And it's such a good build up, such a satisfying payoff. And of course, you find out that Falcone is Catwoman's dad,
which was a twist I was not expecting at all.
Yep, no, not even remotely.
Like, oh, okay, that's a new part of the Batman lore that I've not heard or seen. Well,
see, we were talking about Angela and I were talking about this during the movie because there's the what's the website? The joke that the Riddler uses.
Oh, is it like the
Larada something?
Larada something, yeah.
Yeah, which is supposed to be like rat with wings or stool pigeon or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he thinks it's him. Then he thinks it's the penguin because it's a bird. And then it's like we're starting to talk about it. I was like, hey, falcons are birds. And I just threw it out there. And I never thought like he would be like essentially the top of this pyramid. Right. And it was kind of cool how it all just wound up to it at the end. God.
I love the scene where Falcone's being taken out after Batman stops him from killing Selena, and he takes him out. He's like, and Gordon's there, and he's like, I own all of you. What do you think? Like, what do you think is going to happen? I own everybody. And then they open the doors like, yeah, how many people actually work for you? And it's like all the cops that really want him to be taken in. But I love
bring the rat. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was like, bring the rat into the light.
Yep. I love when they take, he takes him out, and of course, Oz, the penguin, he comes out and he calls him a rat, and then he goes to shoot him, but a shot comes from somewhere else, and he's been pinned to the ground. He's like, I didn't shoot. And I feel it's a very, I mean, this could not even be anything relevant to it, but it seems very similar to the scenario. Of course, Lee Harvey Oswald assassinated JFK. And then when he was brought in, he was killed by somebody else while he was being detained. His last name being Oswald. It might not even be remotely what they were doing as a kind of a maybe, but I don't know. That was kind of my theory on the whole thing.
I will say that whole scene where he's like, who's the dude that they took over the drug operation from? Do you remember his name? Because remember, they snitched somebody out. And there was so much money in the drug operation.
Oh,
the
Maroney?
Police and the Maroney, because that's what Penguin brings up. Like, you snitched on Maroney or some shit like that to Falcone.
Yeah. Well, Falcone,
that whole scene
throughout the comics, Falcone and Maroney have always been huge rivals. They've always been the ones, trying to control the underbelly of Gotham to pretty much take control of the city.
Who is that?
The lady that plays Dory. The maid.
Who's she playing that? Hold on.
So the lady that plays Dory, I don't know if you've watched this. Our kids love it.
Wait, hold on.
The Amazing World of Gumball.
No, I know what it is, but I've never watched it.
It's a good show.
She's in a few of those episodes. She's in like 80 episodes.
Holy crap!
She does a ton of voices.
Yeah. It's their grandma. She does their grandma. Oh my god, it's fantastic.
I love that she's there. And Alfred is more of like, he's not like Bruce's butler. He's like Bruce's, confidant, and he comes to him for advice. And I think he does a lot of Wayne Enterprise stuff. Because of course, like, he has to pretty much like drag Bruce out to be involved with Wayne Enterprise, because of course, he can't be Batman without Wayne Enterprises, even though he states he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about he pretty much doesn't care about his father or his parents' legacy. But it's like, but what happens, when you lose out all the money, you can't do this stuff.
Yeah.
The things you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
But this Batman and the way that like his tech is and the Batmobile, of course, this is all stuff I feel he was building in that cave. Like that Batmobile is literally just I don't know what kind of car they used. You might know. I don't know what it was, but
I think it's all custom built.
Yeah, he probably took just a shell of a car and just built all this armor around it. It is one of the coolest fucking Batmobiles ever. It's practical in a way.
Yeah.
It's got a fucking rocket on the back, like a rocket thruster. It's insane. But boy, the first time you see the Batmobile, I got chills.
It's so good,
chills.
Dude. Like I like some of the over the top Batmobiles, like in the Tim Burton one, and even in Batman Forever. They're cool, like stylized Batmobiles, but this is literally
those don't look like they'd be very practical.
Yeah, this is literally like somebody built like a rail buggy and then put just like a body on it. Like
this looks like a car from the movie Death Race. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Death Race, but it looks like a car that would be in that movie.
Yep.
It's just, and the thing I appreciate the most out of Robert Pattinson's performance as Batman is he like. Even when like that car chase, but when he's chasing the Penguin, is one of the best fucking car chases I've ever seen.
It's really good.
It's so good. And the weather and the lights.
Psycho?
Oh, and his banter, like when all the trucks crash into and explode, and he's like, "I got you, I got you," and then the car just. I mean, you see, this is another scene you see in the trailer, but it's still when you see it in the movie itself, you're just like, oh my God, practical. It's so fucking good. Oh,
when
I know.
He jumps out of the car,
that.
all practical. It's so fucking
You could definitely tell the way that car lands on the road. It's just so good.
So my favorite part of I was having to consult with him because I'm like, was this the movie where he's sitting in the dark in the car and he's just revving his engine,
freaking the shit out of everybody.
That's the first time you see it. That's the first time you see the Batmobile.
Just even the sounds.
Yeah, the jet, that jet engine winding up.
You don't even really see anything, but you hear it, and you know what's going
on. It unnerves Penguin and shit. He's like, fuck.
And the Penguin, at first he's just, the Penguin's standing in the rain, and which is just it's raining all the time.
Well, yeah.
And then of course the whole city gets flooded, but and then he's just like, fuck this shit, I'm out, and just runs, and he's like, grab the money, and then drives away without the money.
Get the money. He's fucking bolts it.
Yeah, so great. But that whole car chase scene is just fucking fantastic.
From start to finish.
Speaking of practical effects, now this is what I read. That's what I heard. I don't know how true this is. But it is one of my favorite scenes of this entire movie. It's when Batman is raiding Falcone's place, where he's going after Catwoman, I think, there at the very end.
Oh, you're talking about where he breaks in. He goes in with his street clothes, goes in, shuts the power off.
It shuts the power off, and it gets in the suit and stuff. Like where it's all dark, and they there's the scene where he's walking through the hallway. All the lights are out, and they're just unloading into him with guns.
Right.
Apparently, all that's practical. It was all lit by muzzle flashes. That's it. That whole fucking scene.
That hallway scene is just
elevator scene.
Fantastic.
Dude, it is my favorite scene of that movie. Like, brah, brah, brah. It's just the fires, like the muzzle flashes are like
so
I
good.
don't care that I saw that. You see it in the trailer.
But
it's like
it's so much better on screen
to finish.
With context. It's so much better.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
I mean, we talked about, because we've talked about a few Batman movies, before this, and Dan, you've talked about how the fight scenes they're just not it.
Yep.
And I talked about Batman v Superman having the best Batman fight scene ever, but the fights, the choreography and the fight scenes in this movie are fucking great, and I love he takes shots. Even though he's wearing this armor, he takes a shotgun blast and it almost it knocks him the fuck out. And he's got to fucking jab himself with adrenaline to get back up.
Speaking of that. Speaking of that, you finish it. What you're saying, I got a comment about.
No, I'm just saying, the fact that they incorporated that. He didn't just of course she, Catwoman's getting choked out or whatever was going on, or she's about to get shot, and he's just sitting there trying to figure out how to get up. It's he didn't just get really pumped up and then get up. No, he had to fucking take a thing out of his pocket. He's got a compartment where he has to jab that thing specifically to then get his ass back up. And then he's fucking just wrecking this dude.
So somebody pointed something out online. I was reading, and again, this is just something I read on Twitter, so there's no valuability to it. Somebody said, you notice he takes the vial out, and it's like this fluorescent greenish yellow liquid, and he puts it in, and he kind of goes into rage mode. Somebody said that they think, and this is a good theory, that may be some derivative of venom, which is the toxin that Bane uses. Not saying it's like the full strength stuff that Bane uses, but it's like it's green. That's what the same color as stuff Bane uses, but it may be a diluted form that's like essentially a really high, a very strong adrenaline. Like it's a really quick, because he like just beats the fuck out of that dude.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He just goes to town on him, and I love that. Like, Gordon runs up and he's like, "Hey!" and he's about to deck Gordon.
Yeah,
I love when he decks Gordon in GCPD, and then they see each other later. He's like, "You could have held that punch." He's like, "I did."
That was great. I will say I like that, because that whole scene where they're like, "Okay, I need you to punch me," and then like never gives any intel when he's gonna do it, just does it randomly in that whole dialogue.
And then you can't tell him when it's gonna happen.
I know, it's so good though. It's so good. I love how that whole scene played out. Oh god. Oh, if you don't mind, because I mentioned this earlier, if we can skip to this part, I mentioned how Batman is flawed in this movie, and I like that because everybody loves a superhero that wins, right?
He's a guy.
He's a dude,
guy,
and he can still make mistakes. He makes mistakes on in fights where he gets hit and busted up. He misreads or misinterprets or makes mistakes when he's solving the Riddler's puzzles, and at the end of the movie, he fails.
Yeah.
He at the end of it, I know they catch the Riddler, but he fails.
Right.
He does not stop his plan.
Nope. Yeah, again, let's talk more about the Riddler. He's just Paul Dano. He has done a few other roles that are very creepy, and he's a very eccentric actor. He was in There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis. He was in a movie called Prisoners with Hugh Jackman, which was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who did the newest Dune movie. He did Blade Runner 2049. He's a fantastic actor, and he does I'm going to say fantastic a lot in this episode. I already have, but he's fantastic in this movie.
It's well deserved.
He like his videos that he does on the news, like when he posts the videos of the freaking commissioner getting killed, which they would never show on the fucking news. Movies, why do you do this? I don't understand. If there's a video that's sent to a news station, it's like, this is, the commissioner getting murdered, they're not going to show it. They're not going to do it. It's
that and people that don't sleep with fans on.
I would like to point out, so you guys know, 100% of all serial killers at one point in their life have drank water. I'm just going to say that right now. There may be a connection.
I don't think you're wrong at all. That's the truest statement I think you've ever said on the show.
Do you know what I want to say about this guy? You said his name was what?
Paul Dano.
Okay. Illegally using part of my first name for his last name, I don't agree with. But secondly, more importantly, he looks, when he finally, you see him out of the mask, and I love his motivation, that he literally just wants to be noticed. Like, he wants to be somebody significant. Like, that's who he wants to be. And when you see him in jail out of his mask, he looks like the most basic, random Joe Schmo you would see on the street, which I know is their point. He just looks like a regular fucking dude. Could be anybody you cross on the street. And I love the fact that his backstory, because I don't know why books, media, comics, and stuff don't understand this. His backstory, he has nothing to do with anything. He's not connected to anybody.
He was an orphan. He was an orphan that was part of the orphanage that...
Yeah. But yeah, outside of that, but like he didn't work at like Wayne, and he works at some other company. They just randomly mention, like he doesn't, like, outside of that connection, which somebody mentioned, like if he shows up in a likely sequel they're going to do,
Yeah.
It'd be really cool if you find out the reporter that was trying to dig up information on the Wayneses ended up being his kid. Would be an interesting connection to all this. I was talking to EJ earlier. But anyway, but I just like the fact that, but like really, he's not like, oh, I worked for Falcone, or I worked for Wayne Enterprises, or I worked for something else. That was his connection.
He did it under his own validity. He did it on because he wanted to.
He was denied something from Batman.
And that goes to one thing I really like is because Batman's big thing for most of this movie is and I love that, by the way, because he really is portrayed like the original Batman, where he was to ad-lib a line or borrow a line from somebody much better than myself, he was a weird Avenger of the Night. Like, that was what he was. He wasn't a good guy. He was out there trying to protect people, but he would beat the fuck out of bad people to do it. Like, he didn't care. As long as he was wanting to be scary, he was not wanting to be seen in a good light by anybody just to be scary to criminals. They wanted them to fear him. And Riddler literally copied what Batman was doing in the wrong way, but copied what he was doing to do what he wanted, what he thought was right. But he just went about it the wrong way. And you find out this whole time, he just wanted to be like Batman. He just wanted his reassurance or confirmation that he's doing something good or he's doing something right. But again, entirely the wrong way.
Yeah. Like, I feel when the Riddler starts killing, like when the first person that he kills is the mayor, and what an opening scene to this movie. Where it's him you don't know it's him.
No,
you don't know who it is. You just know someone is spying on these people. You don't know who the people are. You just see this kid and he's dressed up because it's Halloween.
Yep.
Before I continue on that, one of my gripes with this movie is the voiceover from Bruce Wayne. I don't like it. I don't like voiceovers where he's talking about like things he needs to do and stuff like that. You know, when things are happening, like he's riding his motorcycle, but you can hear his voice in the background. I need to be better. I need to, blah, blah. I'm not a huge fan of that. And that was probably my least favorite part of this movie, which is not that major. Dislike. But the whole opening scene is just fantastic. Because you're like, is this Batman? Who is this? And who are these people? And then and then you start slowly piecing things together because you find out that the guy is watching, he's watching the news of his debate with the woman who's running against him. And then everything goes down. The Riddler attacks him, kills him, and all that.
The Gotham renewal plan. That's what it was. It's all down to the Gotham renewal plan because that's what she's against. And then the current mayor was for that's running against this lady.
Yep.
But I had seen the very first time you see him, like when he's standing in the shadows.
Oh, yeah. I didn't see him right away.
I saw him first. I was like,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because you didn't see him till the second time when he walks past.
Yeah, because it's the front shot of the mayor. And you can see over his shoulder in the darkness, and you could barely see his silhouette. It's
you see
so
like
good.
you see like the shine from his glasses, like a reflection. Yeah,
I was like,
very awesome.
And I
scene.
pointed, but he didn't notice. And then
it was so engrossed in the movie. I didn't see her point. I was focused. Like I was in this movie from the beginning, dude.
But I'm more of one that notices things in the background, except for you noticed in Texas Chainsaw Massacre when the guy was sitting. You saw that and I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I'm usually good at catching things in the background.
So, of course, this movie definitely leads us into sequel talks, and there's no official announcement that there is going to be a sequel to this movie, but you can guarantee that there's going to be a sequel, maybe a couple sequels to this movie, especially with how one of the last scenes we get, which is in Arkham State Hospital, where the Riddler he's freaking out because he feels he failed. He feels, gosh darn it, Batman stopped everything. This is not what it was, because the thing was he was looking for recognition. He was looking for attention, and all the attention went to Batman and everybody else that are going to make Gotham great again. And he has this conversation with this other inmate, which at first he just sounds like another guy with a really kind of creepy voice. And then when they zoom in on him through the bars, you can tell he's disfigured. He's got some shit going on with his face. He's got some scarring near his mouth. And you're like, okay, maybe. But then he starts cackling and they both start laughing together. And you're like, you sons of bitches, you're going to do this in the second movie? You're going to bring the Joker into the second movie of this series like the Dark Knight trilogy did. And I'm all for it because the Joker's my favorite character. And I am excited to see what they do with him in this franchise. If he is even going to be in the movie, the actor who played him in the scene, he, of course, he's been asked a bunch of questions about, what he's going to be doing. Of course, he can't say anything because it's not official. But fuck, man, I can't. With what Christopher Nolan or with Heath, I'm giving all the credit to Heath Ledger. What Heath Ledger did with the Joker in The Dark Knight, in that world, was fucking fantastic. I can't wait to see what kind of Joker we get in this universe, especially with how they did the Riddler, which is fantastic.
I will say this because we were talking about it, and you kind of get clues as to what he's talking. This you assume is the Joker, just because he's like something about. He says something about, well, you end up being a clown, but he's like, well, I guess there's worse things that could happen to you, and it's like all these like, and then you see the clown face Joker gang, like guys like running around. So
but the ones that Batman beat up in the beginning.
Yeah, like you see them.
I didn't really think that was who that was. I just thought.
Well, no, not. I'm not saying that's the guy. But what I'm saying is there's dudes dressed up like clowns, running around causing problems. And so what my thought was, this is my theory. This is 2 years in. You see a book where he says year 2 Batman project, where it kind of sets a timeline.
Right.
I think the Joker's been arrested by Batman before.
That could be a possibility.
These clown guys exist. They're either copycats or they're part of his gang.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because he gets arrested doesn't mean the gang is necessarily going to stop. Because why would a bunch of dudes run around in clown makeup? I mean, let's be honest.
Like the one guy that has the half and half. He has just the regular. He's got his face and he has half the paint. And it kind of, subtle nod to Two-Face.
It's almost like an initiation.
Well, see, I don't know if that was Two-Face. Yeah, I didn't think about the Two-Face thing, but I don't think
that kid was going to be Two-Face, but it was kind of like a, hey, Two-Face.
Because he wasn't all for what they were doing.
Right.
And I will say, I hope this movie, because of how they handled the Penguin, how they handled the Catwoman, Falcone, everything. I hope this movie, like they obviously do multiple movies, but they handle the other characters like they should. Like maybe the second movie, maybe the Joker is the main bad guy, but like the Riddler still has a few appearances in it. And they don't just completely just like, in some movies, like characters in it and they either die or just never show up again in sequel movies. Like I want this to be a in-depth, like I know it's just Batman stuff, but in-depth, like flowing world, like where you'll see the Penguin, you'll see these other guys. Fuck, maybe, damn it.
Well, I mean,
I want Clayface and Mr. Freeze, please.
I feel like those characters, though, because of the way this universe is, the way that these movies are made, like Freeze and Clayface are just not part of that equation because they're not.
I agree.
Grounded characters. They're very supernatural.
There's a lot of other characters
science.
I could use. Yeah, there's a lot of other characters I could use, but I know this was going to be very grounded. That upsets me because Mr. Freeze is my favorite Batman villain. By far, not the shitty one, fucking Schwarzenegger, which blows my mind. Which blows my mind that I'll bitch about this in the movie, but Paul Dini did such an amazing Paul Dini and Tim Bruce did an amazing job making the best Mr. Freeze of all time with the Batman animated series, and nobody's done a good one since. He
was really good in the games.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Paul, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini also had a hand in all that stuff too.
Right.
Exactly. Like he inspired what Mr. Freeze is now, like the Batman animated series. But anyway, we didn't mention because you were talking about earlier. You were talking about earlier how he felt the Riddler felt he failed, and I don't think thought he failed because Batman stopped anything, because he succeeded. Like he blew up all the walls. They had all these bombs around the seafront, flooded Gotham. Bunch of people died. The mayoral candidate, the girl that was running, ended up getting shot. I don't think she died, but she got shot. No,
because she gave that speech at the end.
Yeah. And I think he was mad. He was upset and pissed because when he asked Batman about it, when he actually talked to him, Batman didn't approve of what he was doing because he was trying to emulate Batman and get approval from him, where Batman's like, fuck you, you're crazy. He's like, what do you mean? And like, and that's where he's like, you haven't figured it out yet, have you? He's like, I gave you far more credit than you deserve. And I think that's what he was pissed about, that Batman didn't approve of what he was doing, and Batman didn't end up being this great, because that was all it was for him. Even in the comics, it's this big mental game where where Riddler wants this competition. He wants this person to go up against. He wants to win, but he wants this great rival, and he didn't get that. Because admittedly, Batman's greatness, but he's just not as good as a detective as he will be when he gets older.
Right. I love how hands-on Batman is with. He's not always in the shadows. He's like at the end of the movie when they're picking up the rubble and saving people. He's there, putting people into the gurney thing that goes up into the helicopter. Like he's carrying kids, like and helping save them in during the daytime, which you can't really tell because it's fucking dark all the time in this movie. But I love that scene. He's dirty. Oh man, this movie's just so good.
But it all goes back to what the mayor candidate Villarreal says to him earlier, that he could do better.
Well, see, I don't think that's it either. I think that helps.
I think that kind of gets him into the minds, because he wasn't going to then he kind of hesitates, and then he starts. But I think a lot has to do with the kid.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think it's the kid from the beginning. It's a lot of things. It's the kid, and I think it's the whole thing with the Riddler. Because remember when they end up fighting the one dude, beating him the fuck up, one of the dudes that dresses like the Riddler, and he says, "What's your name?" And the dude's like, "Vengeance." And then like he gets all these things to realize that, which this is a great analogy toward the comics and any Batman media to begin with, is he realizes the Riddler is doing what he's doing because of him. Mm-hmm. Because the great debate in the comics for Batman is, if Batman didn't exist, would any of his rogues gallery? Are the reason that these people exist because of Batman? If he stopped being Batman, would there not be a Joker? Would there not be not like stop being, but if like he never became Batman, would we have Joker, Clayface, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, the Marionette, whatever? Like that's what I like. He, like, at the end of the movie, I don't think it's like, oh, Batman's just helping. Like, I think he's kind of like realizing, like, I can't be a dark, hidden figure that's taking out these bad people. I need to be a symbol of hope and light for Gotham. I can't always hide in the shadow all the time. Like, even though I know that's where he prefers to be, he has to be that beacon of hope. So we don't get more imitators like the Riddler that just want to do what he does, but do it wrong. But that's just my theory.
No, I like it. I like all the theories. There's a lot of theories that you can come up with watching through this movie. I can't wait until probably not going to go see it in theaters again. Because it's very long, and I really enjoy sitting on my couch and watching movies, and being able to pause it and go to the bathroom. But it's definitely one of those movies. It was a fun experience to see it in theaters. I do still enjoy going to the theater and seeing movies like this, on the big screen. But I can't wait to see it again and really dive deep into it, watch it multiple times, and kind of get other, pinpoint other things. Because there's a lot to unravel. It's a almost 3-hour long movie. There's a lot going on. It is. If this definitely isn't a Batman movie I would recommend to children.
No,
not even slightly.
It is so very harsh. It is probably the darkest Batman movie we've ever gotten. Like,
there's an F-bomb in it.
Yeah, there is. Well, it's PG-13. They get one.
Yeah, they get one.
But this movie's dark. This movie is dark as hell. Not like visually dark. It is visually dark, but it's also just dark. There's murder. There's blood. Yeah, Batman is brutal.
He's
just the things that go on in it's and it's long.
Very
so
much.
It's trying to have your kids sit through this movie.
It's very adult subject matter. We didn't take any of our kids. It was just the wife and I that went.
Decided they didn't want to go.
If you feel comfortable enough, and if you have it nearby, we do recommend you watch it in theaters, because I recommend you watch any movie in theaters. I'm a huge advocate for it, because personally, I've never mentioned this on this podcast, oddly.
Mhm.
I have more memories of watching movies in theaters than I do watching them at home.
And-
Sometimes I haven't growing up, movies I
Mhm.
watch, but like
Yeah.
the cinema is an experience, and this is the kind of movie you really need to experience in cinemas. If you can, if you feel comfortable.
My only gripe with this movie is the freaking lights.
Oh
And-
yeah.
The lights
All
on the
the
motorcycles are
shining.
shining your face.
Yeah, it's like, why do you? I'm in a dark theater.
Yeah.
I'm like doing this number. I'm like,
I think it's to give a contrast.
I can understand how Batman feels.
I will say though that fuck, I thought I had something else.
I do like their attention to detail for like Gotham. It's not just we're gonna reuse this city. They added other
Yeah.
details like the cobblestone street.
Mhm.
Like I enjoy that.
It didn't feel like Chicago.
Yeah, it didn't feel like Chicago.
Just
or
Chicago.
New York.
This felt
or-
like more like New York City because it was on an
yeah,
island.
like more like New York City, but they changed certain aspects of it to make it different.
It felt more like this is legit Gotham, like a
Yeah.
fictional city.
Yeah.
I love how they is Gotham Square Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought that was
absolutely.
funny. Oh, man.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's about all we could really talk about right now. We definitely down the road we'll do a full in-depth review on the movie when it comes out on Blu-ray, digital, whatever. So we can sit down, I can take notes, and we can really go through the plot and stuff in
Yeah,
depth.
because there's a lot we didn't touch on.
Exactly.
So
there's a lot.
That way you guys can experience it. If you've
Yeah.
gotten this far and haven't seen it, you still have stuff that you'll be able to.
Yeah, make sure you watch them. Go watch the movie before you watch this review because there is spoilers. We did yell spoilers way earlier in the episode before we jumped into it. So just
We made it
warning
5
there.
minutes in.
We made it for a little while. We had a good run.
I know.
Yeah.
We did really good this time as opposed to other times before we got to the spoilers.
Oh, I will say that one of the big inspirations for this, and it's actually a graphic novel I've read, and it's really good. One of the big inspirations for this movie was the Long Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great graphic novel. If you've not read it, it's really, really good.
And they actually just made 2 animated movies out of it.
Yes, they're great. I've watched those, but I mean the graphic novels. I'm sure the animated.
Matt Reeves. There's actually a collection put together by Matt Reeves that I think you can buy at your local bookstore, like Barnes and Noble or whatever. That is Matt Reeves' graphic novels that he used as inspiration for this movie. So it's like, of course, the Batman Long Halloween, and there was a couple other ones that I actually I've never read. So I actually might look into that and read those graphic novels because, boy, Batman graphic novels are just. I don't know if I've read really a bad one in the ones that I've read. But other than that, that's going to be it for this episode of Fresh Cuts. If you have any thoughts or opinions or whatever that you want to share with us, tell us what you thought of the movie. Make sure to leave a comment on the video. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. If you listen to us on podcast services such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Good Pods, which I highly recommend. It's an app I use right now to find any podcast you're looking for, any subject. It's really easy. Make sure to leave us 5 stars and leave us a review if you can. I know Apple Podcasts does it and Good Pods. This is another fun week. Next week on Fresh Cuts, we are going to be talking about the new release movie from Netflix, The Adam Project. So that will be our next Fresh Cut. That will be a little bit more in depth as it is a Netflix movie and we can actually take some notes on it. So that'll be next week. This Wednesday will be our Resident Evil Apocalypse throwback episode, our video debut of that. And on Friday will be Batman Forever, which is another Batman movie with the Riddler in it.
Where are you going?
One step closer to the worst Batman movie.
Exactly. I can't wait to talk about
I haven't
these next
seen-
two.
I have not seen that movie before, so get ready for me to bitch a lot about that movie.
Just
I want to
like you
thank
did with
everybody.
Batman
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Batman Forever. It was just
It was.
Well,
I'll talk about it when we talk
Make sure
about
you
it.
check out the
bad
episode.
things said.
Make sure to check out that episode on Friday of us talking Batman Forever. It's gonna be a doozy, absolute doozy.
Gonna be something.
Thank you everybody for the support, watching, listening. It's a lot of fun doing this every week. So thank you all for the
Yes.
support. Until next time, I am your host, Brett Parker. Over there is Dan and Angela from DNA Gaming. We are Dissect That Film, and this has been Dissect That Film Fresh Cuts. We'll see you all next time.